Hey guys, good morning. This is Simon with TRADEnPERFORM Coaching. This is how you get a hold of me if you should want a trial to the room. There's only 2 spaces available. First two come, first two got it. And the room is not free, by the way, so don't be knocked off your feet when you see how much it costs, right? So it's $279 per month. I'm going to review a trade I introduced in the room, modification to a trade that dramatically increased P&L, so primarily for the team members here. Right, so we're going to start off. What we're doing is we're using a 15-tick NQ chart. We're not going to look at location or any of the other areas that we would normally look at. We're just looking purely at the setup. And what the setup consists of is we have a TnP apex right over here. I want to see that TnP apex get closed above. And then I want to see the top of that bar get touched again. And I want to use in this case, a 7-point stop. I actually prefer a tighter stop, but we'll use 7 points in this case. As the demonstration, I actually use a tighter stop than that. And we will go from there. So what you're seeing over here is, if you look on the left, what I'm going to do is, so this is if you look at this process, right, you're going to see hold on one second here. You're going to see some stops in here. So this is the first one. So this blue line will mark where this bar began, and then the second will change the color. Whatever, green marks the place where we would take the entry. So there's the apex trap. As soon as I see this bar close above, right, I now have the bar close above, I'm just going to come and put a sell stop at 13,918. Now I'm put 1 tick underneath, 0.5. 13,918.5 with a 7-point stop. So I'm going to come over here. Where is this? Let's move it over. That 5 tick is hard to find your location, so you just have to move it over. Here we are. Okay, so this is where it breaks above. I do not trade with a 5 tick in real time. Too hard, right? So the bar's formed when this bar closes, which is up here. I now put my limit at 13,918.50, and you can see it tags through the 918.50. My P&L will occur at 5 points, so 1850, 7 points. So now I need 1150. So right here, I get my 1-to-1. You'll see the second bar hasn't even closed yet. I already have my RR off. In terms of P&L, right, from 1875 to 14, you almost have 50% of your risk done. I don't move my stop to net break even. I leave it as is. Some people move them to net break even. I don't, right? And then you can watch on the right. Okay, so you'll see the best you could have gotten on this trade was a 11,908. But here's the difference. In our prior methodology, we would have entered this trade at the bottom, 11,914, with a roughly 11,925 stop, right? Which means you needed 11 points from the close of this bar to get your RR off. And you can see you just did not get it here. This would have been, under the old way of doing things, this would have been a stop. And now you've now got your break even accomplished. Again, I used it with a 5-point stop so much earlier. And then you went from 14, and then you got an additional 4, 5, 6 points of P&L. So almost a 2-to-1 RR in a trade that really didn't work out, right? It did not extend as far as we would want it to. Oh, I stand corrected. Now I'm right. So initially, you see you get your 1-to-1, your 2-to-1, and then the maximum favorable excursion on that trade looks like it's going to be 89. So you entered at 18. You got it to 90, 28 points for 7 points worth of risk, 4-to-1 RR. There you go. So now I'm going to come back to this trade. There's nothing to do now, right? Just waiting patiently. Actually, I'm going to flip this. You really want these traps to occur outside these bands, so you can do more aggressive trades inside here. They do work. I'm not going to highlight them because I don't want to take every little twist and turn. I want to emphasize the highest odds trades, which occur outside the Keltner channels. So that's where I look for the setups, right? So trade 2 would occur. See how I'd have to touch actually I did. This is actually valid. Touches the outside of the Kupner channel, so I stand corrected. So this is the next trade right down here. And we put our vertical line here. So it closes underneath. I'm going to put a limit at 13,892 period. So see when this bar closes underneath and then the new bar starts. So I remember I need this bar to close first. Color green. Okay, so down here's where that new bar starts, which means, so this is why this 5 tick's important, right? If I entered at 9.2, that means I couldn't have it go past 8.5, right? So 8.5 is all the way down here. If I use the 5-point stop at 9.2, it means it can't go past 8.8. So that's the stop. So you can see it came down, the bar completed. The new bar starts right here. The touch is right here, does a little tiny retrace. And again, you can see 92 up to 03. You got more than your 1-to-1 risk reward off, right? So that's the first 2 trades, first 2 profits. Tiny stop, big RR. Let's erase these lines. Now we're going to go hunt for our next trade. Let's see if I can get this. Well, there's another way to do that. There we go. Okay, chart cleaned up. So we're going to keep going across. Doesn't close underneath. Doesn't close underneath. So again, I'm not going to short these till it closes outside the channel. So doesn't get it, right? So now you got to remember over here, excuse me, on the left, I've got to get a close above this apex, which I do. Okay, so there's the close above at 840. Vertical line, these are all in central times. Next vertical line. So my entry is going to be right here at 23. My stop's 28. Again, we're going to work with a 30 stop. So right up here will be the stop. And then 23 to get 7, I'm going to need, let's see, 3, 4, 16. So here's my 1-to-1 RR, stop to break even. And you can see this is going to provide a really nice fat trade. You're going to get better than 4-to-1 RR on that stretch from your entry at 23 all the way down to 99. Again, you had 7 points. You get 24 points. Again, that's a 4-to-1 RR on your trade. And now we're rolling right along, right? So now I know it closed back in here. I think this ends up being a stop, but let's find out. So I have all these apexes. I'm going to draw it off the lowest apex. Again, the apex is the one with the blue squares down. Put a vertical line. So this is the close underneath. This is the close above. And so, wow, you can see that it was quite active, right? So you can see my long, this is the green bar. So this is why we measure how far it went against. So this is a trade where you'd had to take it 2 times, right? So it closes underneath over here. This is the first place it tags it, right? So here's my 7-point stop. So 89.25 is going to be 82.25 for a 7-point stop. Okay, so my 7-point stop survives. My 84.25 stops me. So I got stopped. If you used a wider, more conservative stop, you didn't get stopped, right? And again, I would have entered again right here at 89. Let's see if I would have gotten stopped again. Ooh, so very interesting. So again, you have to remember that I'm exchanging under the old method. This was a 11 to 18 point stop. I'm exchanging that for 2 stops. So if you look here, both these trades stopped. One stopped for 7, one stopped for 10, because I wouldn't have made it to my RR. 89 to 92 is not 5 points. So that is a loss right there, right? So now I'm not doing anything, right? And there's 2 reasons for it. There's no way I can trap on this unless I'm going to go back and see if there's an earlier. Okay, this is the next area I can trap on, and I don't get to it. It just touches it. I need it to close underneath. Again, this is the most conservative method of trading this process, right? So again, I get nothing here. I've got to see a close underneath. Okay, now I've got to close underneath right there. So again, I'm going to put a buy limit at, let's call it 78 and a quarter with a 5 and a 7 point stop so we can compare. Okay, so see this second bar down? It can't close in now. See how it doesn't, here, I'll make this bigger for you. It doesn't close in. There's nothing for me to do. It's going to sit there. There's no trade, right? What I want for it to do is close underneath here now. Doesn't do it. Not yet. Let's see. It doesn't do it, right? There's another process in here that did set up, but we're not going to discuss that. The fact of the matter is it just didn't set up on the process we're discussing. There's nothing for me to do, and it doesn't trap in this particular trade, and that's fine. So we keep going. So I have ended up with, depending on the method, either 1 7 point loss or 2 5 point losses. But remember, my prior trades were 4 to 1 RR, right? Okay, so I'm now set up for a potential short. By the way, I hate shorts in the NASDAQ, just FYI. I literally hate them. The market tends to like to go up a lot, although on Friday it did just fine. You know, that Wednesday, Thursday experience, shorts can become addictive. So let's do this. Let's erase all our lines. I know this is boring. Boring is okay. This is how you find out whether your trade works or not, right? You got to go through and manually test it. I do not understand why this will not erase, but they're going to erase it. I better have these on auto lock. So, okay, so I've got to look back to the left. So I'm going to make this bigger. And I can see that this just can't trap, so I'm just going to keep going. Again, no trade here on this particular process. No trade over here. No trade. Trade potential. So right here and right here. So that's 67, 67 and a quarter, plus these guys down here are valid. So, okay, see how that closed down and then closed back through? As soon as we close underneath, I'm putting a blue line on it, and I'm going to put a limit at 67 and a quarter, right? So here's the green bar. As soon as it closes through, my limit's already in, right? Come over here. I'm long 67 and a quarter. Obviously didn't retrace. I need, in this case, 7 points to get my 1-1 RR. So 67 plus 6 would be 73. So I need 74 quarter. See, I got my 74. So now you got to make a choice, bring stop to break even or let it go. And you can see that plays beautifully. We obviously get 67 to 87. And then some. You got almost your 4 to 1 RR off this trade. Again, no potential trap over here. So I just reset and keep going, right? No trade to be had. No trade to be had. Trade here. Okay, so see this right here? Erase all the pictures. Okay, so we have trapped underneath two apexes. Either one can be a valid trap, obviously. So when I'm here, my immediate order goes 67.50, right? Okay, so I would have loved to have taken this out. I didn't, so I'm long 67.50 here. My order's already in, right? Color green. I'm going to switch back over. Okay, so I'm long. So now I want to see, well, how much heat did I take on this trade, right? I would have entered right here at 67.50. And you can see 60, actually 67.50, so 60.50 survived. Okay, so a 5-point stop, stopped out. A 7-point stop survived by literally a tick. And by the way, when you measure this, if you get slipped on the entry by a tick or two, measure from the point. It's really 7 points from the point of entry. It's actually it's actually 60.25, so it survived by 2 ticks. But if you had the 5-point stop, you got stopped. With the 5-point stop, I'm re-entering here. And so again, you can see I've lost 5. The 7-point didn't get stopped. So now I need 7 points from 67.25, which is, again, it's the exact same trade, 67, 70, 73.25. So right here, I got my 7 points. I can choose to move my stop to break even or trail it. And you can see in this particular case, the furthest the trade would have gone prior to stopping me from a 67 quarter entry would have been 86. So it didn't quite make it 10 points, right? Still giving you almost 1.5 RR, right? So again, those net break even, and you can see how the P&L starts to add up because your stop is so tight and your RR is so big. And then you're going to see right over here, we're going to start the whole process over again, right? Here's my line. Here's my close underneath. I immediately put the limit in at 59.50, right? 7 and 5, 7 and 5, right? So vertical line, color green. And so again, you're going to see limit in 59.50. I obviously get it right out of the gate up to 73. So from 59 to 73. And then you can see the extension makes it a little bit better, right? All the way up there. And that is pretty much where I would cut off my morning, right? There's more trades, but the concept is the same over and over again. It just works again. As a matter of fact, what you're going to see as you go through here, you'd expect lunchtime to get choppier. This is your next entry right here. It just keeps going. You're just sitting back and waiting for the apex to get taken out. Vertical line. And this way you can test it. Almost all members have the software on their desktop. It works in CL, NQ, and ES, right? Again, all of these are tight stops. All the stops are congruent with the way that we trade. But again, you can see here, I'll have entered this trade right here at 91. That means I need a 98 stop. And you can see whether it got stopped or not. So obviously, right, the only question here is how far did it go in your favor. So on this one, it went from 91 to 86. So 86.25. So it actually missed the 5-point track, right, and handed you a loss, right? And if you look at this, okay, so the 5 and the 7 got stopped here, right? It's not a problem. We're not afraid of the stops, right? So loss. I'll take 5 and 7-point stops all day long. So I'm short again. I get my 5, get my 7. And then I get my roll down to 50, which is 40 points from where I entered. Okay. So the key is very simple. There's no hype. There's not a lot of room in the room. So this is not even an advertising piece. This is to show people that you really can control your risk and your risk management with very specific setups. And what I'm contrasting here is my style compared to someone who I really admire, Louis DePayne. I really admire the way that he trades. But for me, because I'm dyslexic and I'm ADD, I had to find another way to interpret order flow, right? And what I do is instead of having to see the order flow going, in my mind, I've kind of taken it to the next step, and I understand what order flow is likely to come after I see a certain sequence, right? So I'm learning the sequences kind of like very similar to the idea of coming to a four-way stop sign, right? Now, there's no way that you can actually know that the next car that comes to that stop sign will come to a complete stop. Sometimes they blast that stop sign. But in my experience of driving for many, many years has been most of the time when I get to a stop sign and I come to a stop and I look to the right, the car that's approaching the stop sign is going to stop. Now, I may hesitate for a second to make sure it's actually going to stop, i.e., that's my stop loss in driving. Here I just go, I assume that's going to stop and turn there, right? So my stop loss, my hesitation, make sure the other car actually stops, is the 5 or 7 point stop, depending on how aggressive you want to be on your trades. Anyways, my name is Simon. I'm a TRADEnPERFORM coaching. No trading is easy. I can't hand this process to anyone and go, here you go, make all the money you want, right? It takes time to learn it. Most people need 30 to 60 days to learn the process. And there's a cost associated with it. There's a cost in time. If you pursue it, there's a cost in coaching. There's certainly a cost in effort, right? And then there's financial resources. So anyways, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I hope everyone has a great Sunday. I am off to spend the day with my family. Thank y'all so much, guys. See you, and let's have a great trading week.